Welcome into Command Center. Julie Donaldson with Logan, Paulsen, and Santana Moss. And we are starting off with a most difficult question. Logan, how do you block Chase Young and Montez Sweat?
Julie, you're not going to win. You just got to lose slow.
No, you get out of the way is what you do. That's what I do. Santana, Odell, he has a new home. And is he already partying with his new QB, Lamar?
New QB, huh? Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. That's what he's telling you.
We will be discussing it all. It starts right now. We start with a little relaxation because it is that time of year for vacations. And Terry McLaurin doing it just fine, enjoying the nice weather down in St. Lucia in the Caribbean, guys.
I mean, you got to get to the beach, right, in the off-season, Tanner?
Yeah, I'm an island hopper. So.
Oh, yeah, so you've never been here. You've probably done this.
Talk about a beautiful landscape, some adventure, some good reading, and of course, he gets in a little bit of golf as well. Nice vacation for Terry out there. And then Jonathan Allen, him and his wife are making their way through Asia with stops at the Taj Mahal in India, as well as climbing the Tiger's Nest Trail in Bhutan. Hey guys, that's just a few stops on this trip for them.
I mean, that has to be the coolest trip I've ever seen anyone take in the offseason. That's like a bucket list item for me. Fantastic.
Took the word off my bucket list type stuff. I need to be there right now. I wish I was invited, honestly.
5 continents, 14 countries, 33 flights in 61 days. Meanwhile, long snapper Cameron Cheeseman making new friends on his vacation.
I mean, I don't know. This doesn't fire me up the way the other trips do. I don't know. Does it, Tanner?
It's just because he said the seal has a better mustache than him.
I thought he met one of his long-lost cousins on that one. They look related a little bit.
I one-upped the Cheeseman because guess what? The seal gave me a lovely little kiss.
Dude, look at that seal. Holy cow, Julie. How big was that thing?
I'm glad he was a very friendly seal.
I'm glad he was too, boy, because he looked like, boy, he can...
It was like a
the
bear.
Size of his mouth looked like it's about the size of your head,
So that's vacation, but here are some important dates as we will be getting back to work. Players will be back in the building for the start of off-season workout programs starting next week. Then at the end of the month, the football world will invade Kansas City for this year's draft. May 2nd, and an important date to note, that is the deadline for teams to pick up the 5th-year option for players selected in the first round of the 2020 NFL Draft. And of course, that means Chase Young for Washington. Time for our Mission Debrief, brought to you by the Washington Times. And this is a pretty big decision facing the franchises. What do you do with Chase Young? He has missed a total of 21 games, gentlemen, out of 33 possible games over the last few seasons due to injury. So the question becomes, what do you do? Do you pick up that 5th-year option for him, Logan?
I mean, I think it's something you definitely got to kind of weigh the options on. Obviously, it's kind of a big thing. The injury history is something that gets you really, really concerned. At least I do, Tanner, right? Because, he hasn't played a lot of football, like you just said, Julie, and where is he at? Have you seen the growth? Have you seen the development? Have you seen the play to warrant that $17 million, excuse me. So I don't know. That's a big question I have. So I think you kind of want to slow play this. You want to motivate him and make sure that he's healthy, really.
Yeah. You ask the city this, I think the city would say, hey, we want Chase Young back here. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the business side of it, you have to be business-minded and say, hey, he has to go out here and show this team that he's worthy. I'm a big fan of him. I think he can go out here and get the job done. Light that fire underneath him. Light it underneath him. Say, hey, we're not going to go with it, and make him go out here and do what he does, which I think he's going to do fine, and go out there and prove to the team that he's worthy.
Yeah, even head coach Ron Rivera was saying a lot of this is going to depend on just kind of what shape he comes in, how that knee is holding up. But they're going to weigh their options for this. And you mentioned the money of that 5th-year option, though, Logan. How much different is that should they not pick that up to where the next year they have in a situation with their franchise tag them? Yeah,
I think that the franchise tag, that's a really great question, Julie, because the franchise tag for that year is almost $20 million. So you're only saving about $2.5 million, depending how you look at that. So I think that's, again, something that the team has another piece of leverage, right? You can kind of say we still have control over this player. Even though we don't get the 2 years out, we still get control over that 5th year, technically, using the franchise tag.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing, too, is just knowing what you're going to do with the other guys that's going to be up before him. That's going to be another discussion that we have to have. But I think when it comes down to it, it's just, like I said, they don't have to cross that bridge until they cross that bridge. But it's automatically, what they feel like that's best right now.
And I was going to say, this isn't happening in a vacuum. This is not only about Chase Young. It's about Payne's deal. It's about Montez Sweat's extension, like Tana was just saying. So it's not just Does Chase deserve the 5th year? Does Chase deserve more money? Because everyone wants to give Chase money. I want to give Chase money. He's a great football player. But how does he fit within this defense, and how does he fit with those other big contracts is the thing.
Okay, so Santana, can you potentially keep them both? You brought it up.
That's the question. I mean, we didn't think we could keep both tackles, and we did that. We found a way. So I think when it all comes down to it, I'm one of those guys. I'm very optimistic, and I feel like if you can make things make sense, then make it make sense. But right now, the thing that we have on our side, we don't have to cross that bridge yet.
And if you talk about those defensive tackles, the big question was with Daron Payne, what can you do with him? Knowing that he was coming up, of course, he proved himself. He got that big contract, but they did draft Fedarian Mathis. And you talk about these guys coming up, 7 defensive ends are going to be free agents after next season. So does that change your approach, Logan, going into the draft?
I mean, they've said that they want to draft somebody. They want to get kind of a depth piece here. And I think one of the great things about this draft, Tana and Julie, is that this is a very deep defensive edge class. There's a guy like Kenyon White who might be in the 3rd round. He's 6'5", he's 285, 287 pounds. He's a big guy that kind of fits their mold for defensive end here. So I definitely think I could definitely see them adding a depth piece. And it sounds crazy, but even if it's 16, there's a guy there that you love. You could definitely pick a guy there. I know fans would freak out, but that's how you got to play the draft game, and ultimately, like, you're building for the future with those picks.
It's always that question, a draft for need, or do you take the best player available at 16? Or look, they could potentially trade back as well. Well, time to go inside the numbers, presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the Washington Commanders. And here is a deeper dive into the production from both Sweat and Young since entering the league. Despite Young missing those 21 games, the duo has combined for 38 sacks and 91 QB hits. That is one pair of edge rushers that you do not want to see coming if you are the QB. Now, for more on their impact on the field, let's go inside the film room. Presented by Amino. It pays to be healthy.
Santana, I think everyone forgets how lucky we are here in Washington to have so many outstanding defensive football players, specifically this guy, number 99, Chase Young, and that guy, number 90, Montez Sweat. One of the things he does that's so good, and you mentioned this when we were talking, is he sets an excellent vertical edge here, and that's something that he wasn't doing a ton last year.
Yeah.
And so I think I love when I see this kind of physicality, right? Because why is this important, Santana? It's because they've got these 2 huge bodies inside, and they've paid all those guys a lot of money, right? And they're trying to say, we need these guys to make plays. The way you do that is you set a vertical edge to the defense, you force the running back, and those guys get to make some plays.
I think one of the things that stand out about this play in particular is just knowing where he came from. You know, coming off a serious injury, knee injury, and then prior to that knee injury that year, he wasn't setting those edges. He was going out there. You hear edge rusher. He was going out there doing absolutely that, trying to go out there and blow up quarterbacks. So now you can see him playing within the scheme and being that guy that they want him to be for all those other guys to be able to go out there and play off of him and make the play that he's trying to basically say, I'm going to set the edge. Now you guys go make the tackle.
Now you guys make the play. And that's why those guys on the edge, those big physical guys, are so important, and so impactful for this defense, right?
Yeah.
And so, again, the other thing he does here, the thing that I think is underrated about him is his instincts. He plays with a really high football IQ, and you watch him here, Tan. He says, I think something's going on here. The tight end's going to block him. He's got his vision to the backfield here, looking at the quarterback. He says, I got to get into my rush. And then he feels this offensive lineman kind of oozing his way out. And what does that mean, Tanner, when that happens?
Basically, he's letting them know, scream.
Scream,
it's coming,
man.
It's coming my way. You said it, man. He's using his vision. He used his eyes. That's the evolution of a football player right there. He's showing you that, man, from this time that I played last time, I got a chance to get in the classroom and really learn the game from just, from the film room and take it to the field. A lot of guys, when they playing and being dynamic as he is as a player, they go out there and just play the game.
Yeah.
But he's using the film room to go out there and elevate himself even more.
Absolutely, man. And you love to see this kind of football IQ. And then the other thing, I got worried, man, because he's coming off this ACL. You see the big brace on him right here, and it kind of says, wait, what's going on? Is he going to be 100%? I see a play like this against a guy who's a very good left tackle in Jason Peters, and he is bringing a powerful bull rush here. And watch him get this guy on skates.
Yeah.
Get out of here, bro. And then he's able to chase this quarterback down, force an incomplete pass, and I say, like, he is progressing back to what we knew.
No doubt. I love that play, just knowing that, man, he still isn't there. You know what I mean? Just to think, when he gets that knee brace off and he really can use that gear, because you can tell he had a governor on right there. He was trying to get after him, but that just shows you, man, that this guy, when healthy, can be the most dominant on the field.
Dominant. And the evaluation of him in college was awesome. And then he's got his bookend, his buddy over here, number 90, Montez Sweat, who I thought grew up a lot as a pass rusher. He's got these 35-inch arms, these kind of unprecedented long arms.
Yeah.
And watch him put his arm in the tackle's chest here, and this tackle's going to be like, I don't know how to stop this rush. He's going to push this guy back, get through here, and one thing about Montez that I love, Tana, is that he's always working. Always working. Misses the sack here. James Smith-Williams comes into the picture and says, I'm going to get a sack. Fields is dynamic. He gets up off the ground, Tana, and gets back on this play. And I love how he's kind of elevating the group just with his effort here.
I feel for Montez because he gets overlooked, man. There's so many other guys on that line that gets the praise, but this guy, Motor's never stopped.
Yeah.
Last year alone, the first, 4 or 5 games, I kept saying it, he's almost there. Yeah. He's close. And then he got on a spree. So he's one of those guys that, man, every year he's gotten better. And just to think, man, he's in his 5th year. So who knows what this year's going to look like.
Absolutely, man. I just love watching him here. And I think the other thing he does really well is he knows how to work within the context of the rush. They're going to run a little game here. Duran's going to come here, work around, and then Montez is going to sum up and pick this guard, right? Mm-hmm. And watch how aggressively he comes off the line of scrimmage here. And this guard has no idea what's going on. Up, delivers a blow here to this guard not paying attention, is able to create some separation, create a free rush for Duran here. Doesn't die on the rush. Gets them to look at this guard, man. He's on skates. He doesn't know where he's going, right? Gets free, gets it on the quarterback, and everyone talks about John Allen and all the sack production he's had, but you don't get those sack numbers without your help from your buddy Montez Sweat pushing him up into the pocket, right?
These are one of those plays I'm talking about, man. He's getting so close. Look at him. He's beating the ground. He's pissed off, but at the same time, he just set his guy up for a freebie.
And this is why this group is so dangerous, because once they all start playing together, Santana, especially those 2 guys on the edge, it's going to be an unstoppable group. Can't wait to see what they're going to bring for us in 2024.
Okay, guys, come on back over. Santana, we got to get your take on Odell Beckham, and is he already partying with this new QB? Lamar Jackson, what does that mean for Lamar? And look, Logan, you love those linemen, right? You love them. We're going to get your take on some potential prospects coming up with our senior writer, Zach Selby. But first, this Thursday, it is a new edition of Commander's Log, focusing on the addition of offensive coordinator and assistant head coach Eric Bieniemy. And he already knows quite a few folks in the building, and our very own Logan.
Made it?
How are you, buddy? Doing good. How you doing?
Logan.
Yes, oh, man. What's up? I'm looking at you like that.
Sorry, it's the beard, man.
What's up?
Everything good, man?
God
so
damn.
Man. Congratulations, dude.
What you doing now?
I'm just doing some media stuff for the team.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah.
He played for us at UCLA.
That is true.
Yes.
And I remember you yelling at people like it was going out of style.
So, Logan, he just didn't, you clean up very well.
Julie, this is the first time I've worn a suit probably since my wedding day. He didn't see me. I had long hair. I looked like I was in a biker gang. So I was like, hey, coach, remember me? I didn't look quite the same. So.
And your hair's pulled back in that picture, too.
Yeah, it was probably down past my chest. So
you remember those days, Tana?
Yeah, they just picked him up off the island. He forgot Wilson there.
Yeah, left Wilson on the island.
So there's a reason that he didn't recognize you, but you do look sharp on this show. This new episode of Commander's Log, it is all about EB, and I'm going to be chatting with him on Thursday night. And if you have a question you want me to ask him, leave it in the comments. I will make sure he gets to answer your questions. But here is now a preview of the latest edition of Commander's Log.
Back to the NFL now in Washington.
The Commanders have their new offensive coordinator in Eric Bieniemy.
It's been an amazing journey getting to this point.
I guess, Eric Bieniemy, if there was a headline to your career at Colorado, it would be perseverance.
So this is a monumental task that took a lot of guts for Eric Bieniemy to say, you know what, you don't see me, you can't see me in Kansas City, so maybe you'll see me if I do it here, and that's what he's betting on himself.
But now it's time for a new challenge.
I haven't got this much attention probably since the Heisman.
And one thing you guys gonna learn about me, I'm gonna bring some energy.
Let's go. All the little matters. You good? How you doing?
What an opportunity, man. I couldn't be any more excited, EB.
There's a journey that needs to be done, and we'll start that process. So with that said, I'm all ears.
Now, we are dropping new episodes of Commander's Log each Thursday night leading up to draft week. Then on April 27th, we'll have a special Command Center draft night show for you, breaking down everything related to our pick. So for more on the prospects that could be on the board when Washington is on the clock, we now send it over to our senior writer, Zach Selby, for another edition of Paulsons Prospects presented by FedEx, where Now meets next.
We are continuing to roll through all the positions that Washington could need at 16, and one that I think is pretty important, right, is the offensive line, or the big skill, as one of my offensive line coaches used to call it. So we're going to talk about tackle specifically today, and this group, I think, is not maybe as deep as cornerback or tight end, but I do think there are a lot of players, even at 16, who could help the Commanders out a lot. Your 1,000-foot view here, what do you see out of this position, and what do you look for when you're evaluating tackle prospects?
Yeah, so 1,000-foot view, I think there's like a top 7 guys that you feel pretty good about, and unfortunately, tackles always seem to get pushed up boards, right? So even though that seems like a lot of the guys in the second round, early mocks in the offseason, I think a lot of those guys are going to be in the first round and not be available at 48. When I'm looking for tackles specifically, I look at foot speed, I look at physicality, I look for athletes, big athletes. You mentioned big skill, that's what I'm looking for at tackles, and I think we got a couple guys that are big athletes we're going to talk about today.
And all that is really important, but one thing that really sticks out to me is the effort. Can you finish blocks? Sure. Because, all offensive linemen go through, a little bit of a developmental phase in their first rookie years, and I think the effort really helps out a line. And Darnell Wright out of Tennessee has the ability to finish blocks, has the ability to drive people to the ground. That's really one area that he excels at the most. So why is he able to do this? Is it a technique thing? Is it just an effort thing? What do you see out of Darnell Wright?
I mean, he's a huge man. He's 6'5", 345, 346 pounds. He ran a 5'1" at the combine, so despite his tremendous size, he's a big athlete. And what I look for is people think you block with your upper body. You block with your feet. So his feet are outstanding. He's got quick feet for a big man, kind of those ballerina feet. Takes him to blocks. He can sustain blocks and finish and use his big mass to finish blocks like you're talking about. He plays with a nice edge. He's explosive through his hips, able to lift guys out of their position. He's one of the funnest guys to watch from that kind of physical standpoint in this draft.
We'll move on to left tackle here, because Anton Harrison is a guy that I think a lot of maybe media has kind of almost not necessarily slept on Anton Harrison, but it seems like he's not getting as much love as some of the other guys out there. And I think one thing what he really excels at the most is his pass protection.
Sure.
He's very patient, allows the defensive lineman to kind of make the moves for him so he can adapt. There was a play against USC that he had where he lost his defensive end for a little bit in the scrum of the pass rush, and he finds it near the center of the pocket and just doesn't miss a beat at all. So why is he able to be so successful in the pass protection? Is it the kick step? Is it the footwork? Is it a combination of all three? What do you see?
Well, pass protection is like a martial art, man.
Yes.
You got to know exactly your relationship to the blocker, the distance, the speed that I need to take on my kick set. And Anton Harrison has an excellent feel for that. He's one of the best in the class, probably second only to Peter Skoronski. Very, very talented football player. And when I'm evaluating tackles, you asked me this earlier, one of the things I really harp on is, can they pass protect? Do they have a natural feel for that? And Anton Harrison has that feel, and that's why you kind of see him nationally, and when you're at the combine, people gush over this guy because he has a feel for that pass protection. Again, got to grow up as a run blocker, but I'm okay with that. I think you can teach that. He's got that feel for that fighting art of pass protection.
Good stuff, guys. Now, fans, we want to include you in our draft celebrations by inviting you out to our official draft party presented by SeatGeek, the official primary ticketing partner of the Commanders. The party will take place from 11 to 4 p.m. on Saturday, April 29th at the National Harbor. Washington has 5 picks slated for the final 4 rounds, and fans will have the opportunity to meet the first round pick, as well as current and former Washington legends. To RSVP for complimentary tickets, visit commanders.com/draft party. Now, this past weekend, one of the biggest remaining free agents found a new home as Odell Beckham Jr. agreed to a 1-year deal with the Ravens, reportedly worth up to $18 million. And that has fans saying plenty about the deal online and wondering just what does this mean for Baltimore and their plans for Lamar Jackson. Apparently, Odell already getting comfortable meeting Lamar, hanging out with him, getting to know what could potentially be his new quarterback. I have to get your take on this, Santana. What do we make of it?
That's my take. I mean, that's too interesting. I mean, all this stuff we've been hearing the last couple of weeks about Lamar wanting out. Come on now, like.
Odell, what, do you think he stays now?
Odell's not coming there without a quarterback in place. You know what I mean?
So?
I don't.
I mean, what is it? $17 million? I'd go a lot of places. For
I would go a lot of places too for $17 million, but we know who Odell is. He's a diva.
Okay.
He's the definite. When you look up divas, he's one of those guys.
So that means he's going to Baltimore.
He's going to Baltimore because Lamar's coming back some kind of way.
I mean, the interesting twist as well, y'all talk about how much money they are paying Odell, and of course Lamar saying, excuse me, where's mine? The whole reason we're sitting here wondering, does he return to Baltimore?
It's interesting. Too interesting for me. I mean, all we can do is wait and see what happens now.
All right, so basically get your popcorn on this one, right? Sit back, watch, see how it goes. When it does come to free agents at the wide receiver market, Logan, any out there you'd want and target?
I don't know, at wide receivers for this team specifically, but a guy like Isaiah Wynn, a guy that played tackle guard in New England, really good football player, really good athlete. I see that left guard spot, and I'm like, man, it'd be really nice if we had another piece there. He's got a big injury history himself, a former first-round draft pick, so maybe a guy like that.
There's too many guys out there on the market for me when it comes to free agents. I hate them. I hate even talking about free agents because you never know what they're going to do when it comes to, close, especially getting this close to the draft. We're 2 weeks away. So free agents is almost to the point now where these guys are going to probably be overlooked because of the draft is so near.
Yeah, they're going to wait till after the draft to kind of sign these guys, right? Teams want to flesh out their roster. Maybe these guys are asking for too much money. Give them an opportunity to kind of say, hey, young guy in the spot, or we don't get someone we want in the draft. Here's some really good priority free agents for that second or third wave of free agency.
Yeah, more moves could potentially be made, basically, is what we are saying ahead of the draft. Hey, folks, that does it for this episode of Command Center for Logan and Santana. I'm Julie, and we will catch you again next time.
Did you hear this guy?
What do you do?
Toodaloo.